We're going to have a short introduction from the chairman. We'll go into a video highlights package, and then an introduction to the new management, the management team that has been driving the EOH of the future, so that you get to know them a little better. So, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for the chairman of EOH, Dr. Xolani Mkhwanazi.
This is a very important gathering for us at EOH. EOH is a real giant, which was just catching before it falls. And believe you me, we've caught it just on time. And we're going back to that glory. We're going to go back to being that reputable black-owned high-tech company, biggest in Africa, supplying all the solutions across the board, public and private sector. We're shocked by the revelations of a few months ago. However, we got management change that was swift. And as you'll see, even from the video clip, we were very swift in exiting the kingpins of the trouble. Right now, if you like, we're doing mop-up operations, and we'll be ready to go. Whatever else we find, we sweep.
Evidence of governance failings. These are the findings that have been unearthed in ENSafrica's interim update on the forensic investigation into EOH's historical licensing contracts with the state.
We obviously read about what was going on in EOH to the extent that the media reported it, and then we were the EOH management reached out to us to explain what it was that had happened and what it is that they were doing to deal with this.
We broke the story that a whistleblower had gone to the US Securities and Exchange Commission and reported the case to the SEC. And in fact, it was the break of that story that I think prompted EOH CEO Stephen van Coller to ask the law firm ENSafrica to probe not only that, but other public sector contracts that EOH has been involved in.
But you said there was a team of 8 people involved in very clear and deliberate fraud. Are we likely to see criminal prosecutions?
ENS recommended to the board that certain people should be prosecuted either for criminal or civil, depending whether they stole or whether they committed a corruption or both. And the board unanimously agreed to that.
We've searched over 1 million emails. We've had a real 5-month process, and it turns out it's largely 93% in one legal entity, and it was largely the governance and control sitting at the head office.
So what happens in terms of a succession plan? Who's going to be placed in those positions?
So Stephen van Coller, our CEO, and myself are going to take a caretaking role for those 2 businesses. I think the one good thing about EOH is it has been a very modular business, and we've got strong management.
Today is not a great day. It's fairly devastating when you join a business and then you have to go through the process we've just gone through over the last 5 months. I would never wish it on my worst enemies. The board, great support, doing meetings way beyond what is normal for a board, just to have a look at the findings, talk about them, what are the issues at short notice, and I really need to thank them for all the support.
Hi, joining me now is Ernst Kaplan. He is the founder and CEO of Kaplan Equity Analysts, and he's one of the big voices on the EOH story. Now, Ernst, EOH has played a role in your life as a telecoms IT analyst over the years. What is your view of the situation at this point?
The current new management are doing a great job at trying to explain what went wrong and what they're trying to do to fix it. So I can't really fault them. All credit to the new management. Stephen van Coller has put in a great team. They all knew, so none of them were involved in any of these wrongdoings, and they really are trying to understand exactly what went wrong and trying to put in place things to make it better for the future. I think we all accept that.
Has EOH got depth and breadth of skills in the current 11,000 strong workforce?
Yes, definitely. Most definitely, and I think they've got the biggest grouping of IT skills in the country, if not the continent. So it's an important company, and I think corporate South Africa depends largely on many of the services that EOH provides.
With me now is Keith McLaughlin from Alpha Wealth. Thank you very much for your time.
Good to be here, Barbara.
How do you feel management is dealing with the allegations of, the wrongdoing and the corruption?
There's three very important things. The first thing is new people are there. So your upper level is completely new. So the same people that were around while all these things happened are no longer there. So you've got new independent eyes looking at this.
And this is important for you?
This is very important because we'll consider for a moment that if there is wrongdoing, the same person who's done the wrongdoing is not the person who's going to go and fix it, because that's effectively you prosecuting yourself. Why would you do that? So you need outside people coming in, which is what we've got. You then need the work to actually happen and understand that, which is what's been happening for the last 6 months. And then you need it reported, detailed, with a plan going forward, which is ultimately what is embedded in that report. So yes, I think they're doing the right things and they've quantified it, they've understood it. It doesn't mean it necessarily is over. There could always be further skeletons in the closet. But they've also got a very logical approach in how to not just deal with the legacy, but prevent it happening again in the future.
I think that EOH has had some serious governance issues, which are now being addressed. The company grew rapidly through acquisition. It's only about, I think, 20 years old or so. And it's one of, if not the biggest ICT services company in South Africa. And they did that through a quite aggressive acquisition strategy. And I don't think they necessarily adequately bedded down all of those acquisitions. And I certainly don't think they put all the right governance processes in place. And I think the new CEO, Stephen van Coller, has started to address those.
They do seem to be approaching the problem with the sort of earnest intent of finding out what happened, of facilitating the punishment of the perpetrators, either by taking disciplinary action themselves or by referring criminal allegations to the authorities. And very importantly, they seem willing to try and impart the lessons of what have been learnt to the public. And I think that latter is very, very important, that other companies should know what their vulnerabilities were to corruption and how they have sought to approach arriving at a solution of the problem.
Zero tolerance for corruption, zero tolerance for flouting governance policies which we are putting together, tightening. It doesn't matter at what point, at what position of the company you are. It doesn't matter how hard you work in the company. That doesn't mitigate corruption.
At the time of joining, the mandate from Stephen was to join and assist in terms of establishing a three-line of defense organization. And typically what that means, specifically when you're part of a listed group of companies, is that you establish control and structure around what it is that you're doing. And that's exactly what we're doing.
Starting from our sales processes, in terms of our bid governance, we're introducing a bid board where the FD, the finance people, myself, Fatima, and the owner of the bid will be part of that board. That is the board that will say go or no go in terms of transacting with government.
We're making sure people are being held accountable. That's our first line of defense, making sure they're ensuring the right controls, checks and balances are in process. Then we've got Fatima and her team who then act as our second line of defense. And then thirdly, an organization this size, we never had an internal audit function. And we're now working together with PwC to put an internal audit function to make sure that we've got our third line of defense.
Something I'm more akin to in terms of the separation of duty, three lines of defense. You just feel more confident that you're ready for anything anyone throws at you, whereas before we just weren't ready. We didn't have the people, processes and policies. And so just feeling after last week, we've sort of made it to Camp 3 on the way to the top of Mount Everest. We've got a few more camps to get to, but that's the process we're going through.